Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the special edition Virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash. I've changed a little bit my format for Ultimate Clash with this one, and I think I might try it going forward. But essentially I'm going to show you guys the bosses each before I do them, discussing them each in a little bit more detail, showing you the units as I choose them, and then obviously doing each boss instead of just doing the final boss and then like a recap. Should hopefully go well. It makes the video a little bit longer, but I think it's worth it because it provides more detail. I'll put timestamps in the description of the video so that you can click on those if you want to skip to any specific boss. So the first boss is Beerus. Beerus is immune to stunning, and he can raise his attack with his super whilst lowering your defense. Overall though, Beerus is very weak. You can see that by the fact that we've chosen just 5 Team Bardock members to take him on. I will say, obviously there's the risk of getting 2 Cybermen in the rotation, and Beerus could kill you if he supers one of the Cybermen, but realistically, just retry. It's the first fight. It's the easiest one to save some characters on. And also on top of that, Beerus is just not that hard. Sealing him does help, but it's not super necessary. Next boss is Frieza, who's immune to stunning. He raises his attack by 30% with his super, and he lowers your attack by 20% and your defense by 20% with his super. Now Frieza is an int type. Here we're going to use an extreme physical team. Again, sealing is priority. And we have the Demon God S Poutine from a free-to-play aspect who could seal Frieza, but the rest of the team is pretty straightforward. You've got Mecha Frieza, Super Strike, King Cold, Super Strike. You've got, free-to-play Captain Ginyu. All very, very simple to put together, honestly, if you're a free-to-play connoisseur. If not, there's plenty of strong, extreme physical units that you can use. Gohan, Janemba, etc. Kid Buu, just kind of go with whatever you feel like. You should be more than fine. Remember, I use mono teams because I find them to be the easiest. Also, I try to make my teams somewhat accessible to a certain point. I try to find the kind of minimum that you can complete a stage with, although sometimes I do have to kind of just get the stage done as well. So tweak the teams as you feel necessary to suit you. So we get rid of Frieza, which is cool, very quickly, so I could do the next boss in one cut. And the next one is Trunks and Vegeta. Now, Trunks and Vegeta are immune to stunning. They also raise their attack by 30% with one super, but they also further reduce damage from extreme class characters. So here we have to use a super team. For this purposes, I used Super Int. Not only is it, weaker than my extreme int team, which we'll see later on, but also it does have quite a few sealing options, and sealing again is the most powerful mechanic here. Ribrianna, Giru can all seal, and the rest of the units are fairly accessible, including the 3rd year LR and the int Gogeta. So you should be pretty good, even if your int Gogeta is like just the base int Gogeta. Again, these guys aren't anything too crazy. You can seal them, lower their attack and defense. The first round is very straightforward. You can seal all the bosses, you can lower all of their attacks and defense. So realistically, it's not like that difficult at all. And it's ultimately not that hard for players to clear the first stage. Next, we're looking at Kefla. So we finish level 1, we can move into level 2, and there's 3 bosses here. An AGL Kefla, a Tech Jiren, and a Strength MUI Goku. We're going to start with the Kefla, and then we'll move on to Jiren, and obviously Goku will unlock. Now Kefla is immune to stunning, attack lowering and defense lowering. She also raises her attack by 30% on her super. Here for this one we're using Super Tech. You can still seal Kefla, and Super Tech has some very accessible sealers, especially being the Master Roshi and Tien. You don't need to worry too much outside of that. The team honestly does more than fine. The second round bosses are tougher than the first round, but they're not hitting super hard or anything just yet. They're not hitting crazy hard. So units like Master Roshi and Tien, a lot of these free-to-play units are still more than fine here. Master Roshi and Tien are very helpful because of their sealing capabilities, but in general this one was super straightforward. So there's nothing really more to say here. You can seal her, but even if you don't, it's not super threatening. Then we have Jiren. So Jiren's immune to stunning, attack lowering, and defense lowering. But instead of raising his attack, he lowers your defense. This is something that's quite irritating to a lot of players. And there's not a lot of ways you can counteract characters that lower your defense. One of them is evasion. The other one is damage reduction. If a unit has high levels of damage reduction, they can tend to do very well. In this scenario, we're using Extreme Int. Again, a quite nice free-to-play heavy team, but obviously we are using the Int Goku Black, who's a great unit, by the way, for this, because he does so many super attacks against super class units. The Android 16, though, the Super Strike one, is really one of the best units for Ultimate Clash. When his guard activates, he has like 60% damage reduction or something. So it makes him a very good tank overall for like pretty much any Ultimate Clash fight. We could potentially seal with Babidi as well. The LR Babidi, the free-to-play one, is also our sealer, which also helps against Jiren. But again, we're quite strong and Jiren's not super duper tough. So here we don't have a lot of pain either. Again, quite a straightforward one. The next boss that we're facing is the physical MUI Goku. So this Goku, he can stun, he's immune to stunning, immune to sealing, immune to attack lowering, defense lowering, and he can evade. There's not too much else that he does. He hits decently okay, but again, we have pretty strong free-to-play roster lineups for this, along also with some pretty common but strong characters. One thing here is that sealing Goku, again, continues to be the best option, just due to the strength of sealing. So bringing Great Saiyan and Videl, bringing Chi-Chi are great options to seal Goku. B-Pan is a great tanking option who can heal for us. Master Roshi is just a helpful unit from the Baba Shop. And then you can just fill up on whatever strength leads you want to. SS3 Vegeta is great to act as like a pseudo tank. Well, not a pseudo tank, to act as a tank. That was a bit silly of me to say, but yeah, basically he's able to act as a tank, which is also super duper helpful. And yeah, just in general, again, super duper straightforward. Honestly speaking, a very simple time here, and not anything we have to really plan for too much. But now we enter stage 3, and that's where things get, really quite more difficult. Stage 3 changes a lot, It gets way tougher, way tougher. For me, it was a big jump in stage 3. Not impossible, but a big jump. So you can go from using mainly free-to-play teams to having to probably just incorporate pretty strong characters. The blue boys are pretty tough. They're immune to stunning. They raise their attack and their defense on their super, and they can raise it even more if they perform their ultra super, which is randomized. They can also evade your attacks. Sealing is definitely your number one friend here. From a free-to-play perspective, we are able to incorporate Krillin in the Great Saiyan 1 and 2, but attack lowering, defense lowering, and sealing are very much your number one friends here. Sealing especially. The difference between getting an early seal on them as opponents and them not getting their early seal is so big, because they can also do multiple supers. So you can also be in a situation where you take 180k on 17, then you don't seal them, then they do another 180k, then they fire another super and you're dead. Because they can very quickly fire 2 supers in one turn, a super right at the beginning of the next turn, and you can have problems. So because of this, it's highly suggested that you get a seal on them. Bring 2 sealers. Tsubasa and Guasu is great. Great Saiyan 1 and 2 is great. But also attack lowering. Super 17 is great from that perspective. Very, very helpful unit. Now we come to Broly. So Broly was the first unit that actually required me to redo the event. I had to change my tech units, upgrade them, make them a bit different. Now Broly is immune to stunning, sealing, attack lowering, defense lowering. He also raises his attack by 30% for one turn, raises his defense by 50% for one turn on the super, but he lowers your defense by 80%. Now this is very crucial because lowering your defense by 80% means you're going to start taking a lot more damage than you were going to take previously. He also does a lot of chip damage because once he lowers your defense, you can go from taking no damage to taking quite a bit. This is why I highly suggest bringing healers, and two great units for this are the First Former Cell and the Tech Boo. Both of them are great for healing as floaters. I think Cell does 15% and Boo does 30% to damage dealt. Is it Hachiak? Hachiak is also great, Hachiak Giant Form, because he has damage reduction against Pure Saiyans, and his Giant Form actually does some decent damage. So you can actually use Hachiak's Giant Form to very easily try and, how can I say, you can use Hachiak's Giant Form to very easily kind of like act as a pseudo tank and to score some really good chip damage. You can use the healing from Boo and from First Former Cell, and then you're just relying on all the other characters to do big damage. That's kind of the main thing with them, and you're kind of relying on that from those units. Tech 17 and 18 aren't necessary, but their active skill does help a lot because it allows you to skip a turn of Broly, and other than that you should be more than fine. Next we come to Gohan. So this is Ultimate Gohan. Now Ultimate Gohan does a lot. He actually also required me to adjust my team, so I did actually have to run this twice. Because I found with Ultimate Gohan, he can really just kind of eliminate you in one turn, especially if you don't have units that start out strong. He's not hitting super hard, but you do actually need to bring good units. You can't bring like mediocre units. He is immune to stunning, immune to sealing, attack lowering, defense lowering. But what he does as well, what all three bosses do on level 3 is they all have multiple super attacks, which is very annoying. Gohan also raises his attack and defense with his super. He can also stun you with his super. He also lowers your attack and defense with his super. So the thing is, when he fires off with two supers, not only half the time is he stunning your character that's going to do big damage, but he also raises his own attack, raises his own defense, and also he lowers your attack and defense, so you start to take chip damage from his follow-up normals. Now Gohan does tend to collapse a lot of his attacks around the first slot, so if you bring a really strong first slot unit, you should be more than fine. But what I found most of the time was just beating him to the punch. Just bringing high damage characters is better. So characters you know may evade or may not, but like SS3 Goku, the super easy aid one, is a great choice for this. Because yeah, he may not evade, he may evade, he'll take a bit of damage, but he'll also pretty much be able to one-shot Gohan. And that's kind of like where you need to go with this, I think. Going low and slow isn't really the best strategy here, just off the basis of what I've seen. So I do think, like, for me personally speaking, once I made that adjustment, once I kind of tweaked it to just bring some high volume damage characters, tended to have a good time. I don't think your team needs to be as strong as mine currently looks. I think you could knock it down a peg or two, but I think you need at least one high volume damage dealer per side of the rotation. You could change it up. You could go extreme AGL, and you could do something like, you could do something like, how can I say, rolling with like a super boss's team, under Broly or something. Like, you can do that pretty much no problem. But as you can see, Gohan does do like multiple supers, and so he can just give you a lot of issues without you kind of realizing it. Then you're too low on health, and then you can just really kind of like struggle a lot. So you do need to make these changes. Overall, I think he was pretty tough, but once you manage to tweak things up enough, you should be more than fine. Just bring your absolute strongest Super AGL team. Don't try to limit it like I did. Just bring a lot of them and make sure you have like a fair chunk of health, and you'll probably get through more than fine. But yeah, So that's Gohan down. We'll do a soft recap of all the bosses, or just click through so you can see all the teams. Hopefully this, with the timestamps, with everything, will be a better format for you guys in terms of video. Like, hopefully you'll enjoy it a lot more. But yeah, I think for me, definitely speaking, I think, like, well, when I say definitely, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. And yeah, otherwise I will see you guys in the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe, and if you do need any more help, you can always let me know in the comments. I'll gladly help you out. And yeah, that's basically it for me. So see you guys in the next one. Till then, thank you for watching, take care, and bye.